Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Some people glide through life with social awareness, emotional intelligence, and the ability to read a room. Then there's the kind of people who cannot, under any circumstances, take a hint. Not the polite kind, not the obvious kind, not even the metaphorical kind delivered via neon sign and foghorn. Today in the rLounge, they have 99 problems, and a clue isn't one. Up first, a woman in viral leggings learning that corporate doesn't do well with flirtation. Petty revenge on a woman who worked with my husband that wouldn't take a hint. Hey Reddit, so I'm already aware that I might be the a-hole here, and I quite frankly don't care. For the record, this happened 3 years ago, but the topic came up recently during a girls' night. I'm now 29 female, my husband is 29 male. We'll call him A, and he used to work at a small restaurant supply chain with my brother that is no longer open. They were bought out by a bigger company and closed the branch. The shop only employed about 5 or 6 people per branch at a time. The manager, 3 office workers, and 1 to 2 warehouse delivery drivers. My husband had, at the time, been working in the office for almost a year alongside my brother, 31. My husband started as a delivery driver and worked his way to an office position. When he was promoted after working there for 2 years, they hired 2 new people to take over as warehouse and delivery driver. One of them was a 24-year-old woman. We'll call her Susan. I used to meet my husband at his work for lunch about 3 times a week, and even sometimes bring him breakfast before I went to work, so I was well known at the office. One day, I stopped by for lunch. I noticed my husband was laughing and rolling his eyes at something my brother had said. When I asked what was funny, my brother said, "Just telling A how it seems someone might have a work crush on him." With that information, I tilted my head in confusion to ask what he was talking about when in walked Susan. She stopped in front of me and smiled politely at me. I smiled back and introduced myself as A's wife. Her smile slightly dropped, and I caught her glancing at his left hand where his wedding ring sits. She excused herself, saying she had an order to deliver before the end of the day, and turned to my husband and told him, "I'll talk to you later." He ignored her and pulled me into a hug. She looked a bit put out by it. My husband told me she had been asking him questions all day since she moved into that position, and he was getting tired of it. But his manager told him to explain tasks to her when she ran into an issue so their customers would still have their orders. Apparently, she had been finding any excuse to come ask him something since she started there a few days before. For the record, my husband had a picture of us by his computer on his desk and as his lock screen. He also was very proud he wore me down because I'm out of his league. He didn't actually wear me down. I knew after our first date that I was going to marry him, as cliche as that sounds. My brother backed him up on this by telling me that even he thought it was excessive. We changed the subject and sat down for lunch. As I was leaving, Susan came into the break room to ask my husband for help with putting an order in. He told her he'd help her and gave me a kiss goodbye. I smirked because I knew exactly what she was doing. I thought that would be the end of her trying to get my husband's attention. I was wrong. She started gradually becoming more flirty with him, even when I was in the room. My husband told her he was happily married, and she said, "Oh, so am I. It's so great having someone at home waiting for you." Yes, Susan is married with 4 kids. My husband spoke to their manager, but she would still find a reason to ask questions. The manager also didn't put much into what A was telling him, so she continued to try and get my husband to pay attention to her gradually and boldly. My husband continued to remind her he was married and then ignore her advances. I have my brother who told me most of this. My husband just said she wouldn't leave him alone. It went on for about a month. My breaking point happened over 2 incidents in 2 days. The first one happened when we were all standing in the office talking and joking around. She had made a comment directly to A, looked at my husband for a response, and he wouldn't even acknowledge her comment. She was embarrassed and looked down. She apparently decided to take it up a notch. The next day, I had to pick up my husband because his car was in the shop, and I got off work earlier than he did. I went inside and he was getting things closed down and set for the next day. He smiled and kissed me. We all turned around to walk out the door at the same time due to setting the alarm. In order, it was the manager, my brother, Susan, me, and then my husband. As Susan was walking in front of my husband and me, I noticed that she had viral waffle leggings from TikTok that are supposed to make your butt look huge, and that shows absolutely everything. And the girl had enough nerve that she was swaying her hips, walking in front of us, in what I can only assume to be a sexy manner. I immediately looked at my husband, and he wasn't even paying attention. She glanced back and caught my eye, then stopped. I saw red. It was at that point I got to work planning my revenge. Since she had turned into the boss's golden girl, I had to be careful so it couldn't backfire on my husband. So the next day, on my way to meet A for lunch, I made a phone call. Yes, some might say it was a bit much, but I highly disagree. Since the manager didn't care, I called their corporate office that was across the street. I pretended to be a customer, a very offended customer. When they answered, I asked to speak with someone about their employees. They transferred me to who I only assumed to be the HR department. She answered and asked what she could help with. I said in the fakest, sweetest Southern Belle accent I could come up with, "Yes, I was just wondering if you have a professional dress code for your delivery drivers, or if they're really allowed to dress like OnlyFans creators." For the record, I have nothing against OnlyFans models because it is a way to make money, so don't come to me about it. Just don't try to get my husband. I don't share. She stumbled over her words and assured me they had a dress code, to which I responded, "Well, I don't think they follow it because one of your drivers showed up in those TikTok leggings, you know, the waffle ones that are supposed to make your butt look big, and you could see each cheek outlined. I don't feel comfortable with that because I have customers who come in, and I don't want that to be what they associate with my company." When I tell you I heard an "oh my God" and a mortified gasp, I did. Apparently, it was on speakerphone, and the receptionist who transferred the call was in the room. She asked what company I was with, and I told her I wasn't comfortable giving that information out because I didn't want them to retaliate. She apologized multiple times for that and assured me it wouldn't happen again. She asked if I knew the girl's name, so I described her and stumbled with names for a minute, saying that I thought it was Sherry or Susan or Sam or something. And then when they asked, "Was it Susan?" I suddenly acted like I remembered her name. I told her I had a customer coming in and I had to go, but I wanted to know that it was the kind of business I should expect. She assured me that wasn't the case and it would be addressed. I hung up and turned onto the road my husband worked on. I'm not kidding. I walked in 3 minutes later and Susan was in the manager's office with the phone on speaker. Apparently, they had a talk with her about their dress code. I asked my husband and brother what happened, and they said they didn't know. HR called and wanted to talk to her. I tried not to smile while being satisfied with myself. She quit the next month to accept an office job because the warehouse job was too hard on her. She never bothered my husband after that. We found out from a friend that she's now divorced. Her husband found out she cheated on him with at least 2 guys from her office job the following year. My husband and I are happily married and expecting our second child together in the spring. So that's my ProRevenge story. Update. Holy crap, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. A few things I wanted to respond to from some of the comments. Some of you think this story was made up. I can assure you it wasn't. She was the golden girl who did no wrong in her boss's eyes, and I wasn't sure of the extent of what she would go to in her attempts. Some people will lie and say they were sexually harassed if they don't get their way. I've seen it happen. The boss would have covered for her if he went above his head, and possible retaliation would have happened. For those of you saying I'm insecure and controlling, if your significant other constantly either ignored or told someone to stop harassing them to no avail, I'm sure you'd do the same thing also. I didn't want her fired, just someone else to step in so I didn't cause backlash on my hubby or brother. I apologize for the poor writing, as some had pointed out. I typed this out on my phone and it had quite a few errors. I used AI to correct my grammar for the grammar squad. And lastly, I'm glad I'm not the only petty one out here. Oh, Susan absolutely deserved every ounce of the corporate smackdown she got. Your husband said no. Your brother said no. The universe said no. Susan said, "Let's try harder." She wasn't even loyal to her own husband. She was cheating on her next job too. She wasn't flirting with your husband because she felt a connection. She was flirting because she had the emotional stability of a dropped lasagna. She was messy, disrespectful, and clearly looking for an ego boost. You shut it down hard. What would you have done? Up next, some people think co-parenting means teamwork. Others, like this ex, think it means showing up occasionally and collecting applause for doing the bare minimum. My ex earns more than twice my salary, but is constantly begging me for money. Sorry if this is long. I'll try my best not to rant. I, 35 female, was in a long-term relationship with my now ex, 32 male, for about 8 years. I had a kid from a previous relationship when we met, and he accepted and loved my child. I went on to have 2 more children with him. He was a great dad, but was never good with money. He would often just buy silly toys or video games frivolously without saving for a little time first, or forgetting he had bills due at the same time. Really silly things we maybe all have done when we were young. I thought he would grow out of it, but I was wrong. While we were living together, he contributed very little to the household costs, which led to quite a few arguments because he always earned a lot more money than I did. I was paying the majority of the groceries, the bills, and whatever the kids needed. He worked longer hours than I did too, so organizing the childcare arrangements and keeping up with cleaning the house also fell to me, while he would prioritize his drinking habits instead of his family. Eventually, I started to feel more like his mother than his partner, so I ended it. I'm so much happier on my own, but I feel like he really needs to grow up still. I have also started to worry that his drinking habits have either gotten worse or he maybe is spending his money on something worse. Now he takes the children 2 days a week, and we have a child support agreement in place, $60 a week per child. He is constantly late with his payments or pays, but will call me 3 days later to ask to borrow money from me and always have a sob story as to why. I'm not very well off at all. For context, I work part-time in a job I love, but I can't increase my hours because of childcare costs. It would work out that I would be paying more in childcare than I even earn, so I keep to a budget and I try to be as thrifty as possible. Why can my ex not do the same? Am I overthinking it, or is there something more sinister going on with him that I need to worry about? Update. So nobody asked for an update, but we have some crazy new drama over the last few days. I had a birthday party for one of our kids, and I obviously invited the ex. It wasn't a big party, just some family members who went out to do a fun activity with the kids and went for food and cake after. It's important to note that the party was 4 days after the actual birthday day, so we could have it on the weekend when everyone was able to come. On our kid's actual birthday, the kids were with the ex the night before, and he was taking them to school that morning, so I would pick them up from school. Ex didn't get the kid a present, not even a card. He sent him into school with some sweets to share with the class, but that was it. When I collected the kids, I brought them home and had cards and presents from me and a few extra from some of my family, grandparents and great-grandparents and aunties. The kid was so happy that I managed to get them exactly the toy that they had asked for and a few cheeky extras that I knew would be very well received. Later, the kid told me what his family on the ex's side had gotten for them, but didn't mention what ex had gotten, so I asked. Ex told them that the gift he had ordered hadn't arrived. I knew that sounded suspicious, but I shrugged it off and simply said that sometimes things get delivered late when you order online. So a few days go by, and we get to the morning of my party. Ex needs a lift to and from the venue because he doesn't drive, but he told the kid he would be there, so I agreed to take him and drop him back after. The kid tells me in the car on the way to Ex's place that, "Dad said my present will be here before today, so I hope he brings it." I simply shrugged it off and said I hope so before changing the subject. When X gets into the car, the kid straight away asks if his present has arrived, and X says no, it hasn't been delivered yet. Now I'm more than suspicious. I'm completely sure that this idiot either forgot to get the present at all or was too broke to get one because he spent his money on God knows what. I barely spoke the whole 30-minute car ride to the venue until we were 5 minutes away, and X asked how much my new car cost me. It's not new, it's 8 years old, but just a lot nicer than my last car. It's fair to say it cost me a good bit more, and I had to get a loan to pay for it, but that's none of his business, so I told him it wasn't cheap, and left it at that. We get to the venue, we have a lovely time with some of my side of the family, and the kid is feeling super excited. I'm so happy to see that smile. We get to paying for the final tab, and my brother offers to chip in, but I declined. I just grabbed my purse and head up to pay. X sat back in his seat, watched, and said nothing. Don't get me wrong, I had planned for the cost, and I budgeted for it because I'm a parent, and that's what we do for birthdays, so I didn't need his input, but the offer would have been nice. When I got back to my seat and was gathering all the kids' stuff up, the kid came racing over to me, giving me the biggest hug and shouted, "Thanks, Mama, this was the best party ever." X then said, "We're so glad you enjoyed it." I saw red. This broke man-child was late with his child support at that time, hadn't given the kid a present, and hadn't even offered to chip in for anything for the party, not even the cake. I had planned it all and paid for it all. I said nothing. I gave my dad the look that says, "Don't react, please," and got packed up. I dropped X off at his place, as I had agreed, and took the kids home to my house. When we got home, I told the kids to take the toys and presents upstairs to play with them. When they went upstairs, they went online and reported that late child support payment to the child support agency in our area. They ended up calling the next day and said he has one more day to pay me in full, or it's a mispayment, and they can start the process for getting it taken directly from his paycheck. They also said his salary review will probably be brought forward because of it. I didn't mention his promotion. I'll leave that as a nice little surprise for X if it means an increase in his payments. So it's fair to say I took most people's advice. Hopefully it will be taken from his salary very soon. Also, I haven't been answering his calls unless he has the children, in case it's urgent. And if he does call, then I tell him I'm in the middle of something. And is it urgent? Then hang up as quick as possible. Tell him to text me if it's not. I've been keeping it to messages and leaving him on read when it's not about the kids. And when it's trivial nonsense about the kids, I give one word answer or a thumbs up emoji. Thank you for all your advice. Hopefully the drama will be over now and I can enjoy my happy single life in peace. Honestly, your ex isn't bad with money. He's bad with being an adult. There's a difference. No present, no card, and then lying to the kid about a package that never existed. That's not forgetful, that's lazy and selfish. It takes 30 seconds to grab a card from a gas station. Then he had the nerve to ride along like a guest instead of a parent, watch you pay for everything, contribute zero, and then try to take credit with a, "We're so glad you enjoyed it." We? He didn't lift a finger. Reporting him for the late payment was the smartest possible move. No, you're not overthinking anything. You're better off. Your kids are better off. And he can stew in the consequences of his own choices. What do you think? And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.